Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome again, once again, to my go to shoe faith, hope, and love, a journey through loss, live on, strengthen soul. And for tonight, I have another special guest. This is very exciting. In fact, this guest I've known over 30 years, so this is really a special guest. So I want to thank you, Cheryl. This is Cheryl Francis, who's on with us tonight. So Cheryl Francis, I want to give you a little intro of who she is, though, first before we get started on our topic. And even before I say that, we're still celebrating Women's History Month. I know it's International Women's History Month, and I know it's April 1st. However, we're still going to celebrate because I have a few other women that I would want to introduce you to and have them speak to us. So we'll just let it go on and continue to celebrate women because women are the best. Well, men are the best too. Everybody's the best. We won't say that. Anyway, Cheryl was born in Baltimore, Maryland, to Ruth Corey and the late James Corey. Cheryl was just 2 years old when her dad died. So she was raised typically by her mom and her family. And Cheryl has a degree in a business degree and master's degree in social work. Which, Cheryl, I didn't know you had a degree in social work. I didn't know it was social work.
No, that's my mom has the degrees in social work.
Oh, sure. While working. It was your mom that had,
My
really?
mom, yes,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Oh, that's exciting.
yes,
Ooh.
yes.
I love her mom. She's got the best mom too. She does have the best mom. But her mom was a devoted mother and just did an outstanding job. And I have to know her mom. Her mom is really a wonderful woman. So, but after Cheryl attended, she graduated from high school, she attended Fisk University in Nashville, and she earned a bachelor's in mathematics.
Yes.
I don't know how I saw the B. I didn't see mathematics is my worst subject. So you're really good at math. I always get excited when I hear somebody's good at math because I'm like, that's a gift. It's truly a gift. Oh my gosh. So wow, I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
So and then you began working at IBM in Manassas, Virginia, where she met her husband Donald, and her and Donald have been married 43 years. So
Yes,
yes, that's quite a while. That's a good long term, right?
yes, it
43
is.
years for sure. And then they have two daughters, Danielle and Crystal. And Danielle has a boy and a girl. She has two children. So Cheryl has two grandchildren. So
Yes,
that's exciting too. That changes the whole landscape, doesn't it? When it comes to
it does.
it changes the landscape of family.
Yes,
Now, Cheryl, I remember. So you are a volunteer at UVA Health Hospital in Manassas,
yes,
but you're still at the Matthews Center.
yes, yes.
So you're on the board of directors at
I'm
the
on the
Matthews
board of
Center.
directors. Yes.
So maybe we'll share that a little bit in a minute. And I also want to state that Cheryl's been a member of First Amy Church of Manassas for over
I'm
30 years.
charter member, so
Charter
40
member, so
years. Mhm.
40 years. Wow.
Yes, yes.
It's like having two families, right? It's like
It
you have your
is.
church
It really
family,
is.
and then you have your blood family, but they're like blood because we're so close and we're so much together with everyone. So it's really
Yes.
nice. Oh my goodness. And of course, she serves as a stewardess and on a stewardess board, and she's also in the comfort ministry, and that's the bereavement ministry. So she has a lot that she does and has worked on in the past and is still doing. So Cheryl, we're going to commend you for the work that you've been doing in your career and life. But before we get started, no, I'll just start asking you questions, and we'll fall back into the
Okay.
Matthews. You might mention Matthew later, anyway. So, what I want to ask Cheryl, one of the questions is about her personal journey. Can you share with the group, the people, about your self discovery and how it shaped your contributions to you personally, of course, and socially, and also to your family and your community? How your self discovery discovered yourself, and how you got to see who you are.
I think a lot of it had to do with my mother.
Mm.
My mother is a very vocal point for me. All the things that she has done in her life, all the things that she has done while raising me, all the sacrifices that she made while raising me, but she still, even though she had me and she was working and she was going to school, she still volunteered. She still was a member of her church, and she would go to church, make sure I went to Sunday school, make sure I was in the Girl Scouts. I did Girl Scout. I did everything. I didn't miss anything. And
Mm.
I think that her example and just her love, and all of that is just kind of what started me on my way, because there were times when I was like, everybody else has a dad, I don't have one. But then very quickly I was like, but I'm doing this, I'm doing that. There's some people not doing that, but because my mom made sure I did these things, and she made sure that I was in church. And even when, my grandmother got sick, had a stroke, and
Mm.
we couldn't always go to church every Sunday, she made sure that I went to church with some neighbors down the street. So she always kept me in church, and I might not have really realized at the time
Right,
what
right,
it
right.
all was, but she kept me there. And I guess it's the train up a child kind of thing. Even though they don't understand, you just keep exposing them and
Mm.
train them and whatever. And eventually I got it. Eventually I understood it. Eventually, I'm going to church and they're singing songs and saying words, and I'm like, I want to go find out more about that. I want to go,
Mm.
but I think it's because she just kept making sure to expose me to things and making sure that I was there. And so from that, I want to discover more. And I did kind of, go out and discover more. But then I also have to say, my husband, his father was a minister, he
That's
was a
right.
pastor of a church, and just being around that family and being around, because you see families on TV and they're arguing or they're this and the other. No argue, loved everybody in the church. People are always coming by. And I saw a really good example of family, of love, of church, of, what Jesus means, just showing Jesus in you to people. So I think those things also, my
Wow,
mother
that's
started, and then my husband and his
absolute.
family finished.
Boy, that's really beautiful. And I remember your elder Francis, your
Yes,
father-in-law. I remember him very well, and his wife, actually. Yes,
yes, yes.
they were very much a part of First Day Me in the beginning years.
They
Well, actually,
were.
more than
They
just the
were.
beginning years. Several years later, they were always coming to the church and seeing about any event that we would have. They would be part of it. So that
Yes.
was really special. So you have an outstanding foundation, actually.
I do, from
Yes.
such humble beginnings. When you think about, lost my dad real early, don't remember him at all, and mom trying to do it all on her own. But I do have a good, solid foundation. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
yes,
When I think
yes,
about your mom, you said she still volunteered, she still did work, she still made sure that her
yes.
daughter was at all the events and everything that she had to do, whether it was Girl Scouts, whether it was church, whether it was Sunday school. She
Right.
made sure that you were there.
She did. She really did. She did. And she's still volunteering. One of the reasons why I'm volunteering at the hospital is because she was doing that, volunteering at the
Mm.
hospital, and always telling me stories about it and how much she loved it and everything. And so when I retired, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to go and do that. But again, her example, her showing me and, bringing it forth. So she's
Well,
been,
boy, that's outstanding. I'm thinking about your volunteering, and I want to talk a little bit since you brought it
mhm.
up, Matthew Center,
Yes.
because I remember we used to have prayer calls every week, and you'd always want to pray for Matthew. For Matthew, was it Matthew
Yeah,
Center?
Matthew Center. Yes. Yes.
And share with the people what Matthew Center is, because Matthew Center is a very special and unique place.
It is. It is a small school for children with educational and or physical limitations, mainly children with autism, some Down syndrome, that type of thing, and children on the spectrum. The children are sent by their local school jurisdictions because the schools, cannot handle them sometimes, because
Right,
of
right.
their, where they are on the spectrum. The schools can't handle it. So the schools will refer them to Matthew Center.
Mm,
And it's a wonderful place. It is. The staff is fabulous. They love the children. The parents love the staff. I mean,
mm.
they treat the children with such respect, and they talk to them, like do you want this or do you want that? Give them choices. Give them, okay, they go on field trips, and they try to have outings with them to go and actually find work for some of the older kids. Find places where they can go. I think they're going to McKay's bookstore, doing some work there, and there's some
Mm,
restaurant that has let them come and fold
mm.
up the silverware and stuff. So trying to give them some skills, for when they go. So I got started with them because my oldest daughter was a special education teacher.
Mm.
She's in
Crystal.
Maryland. I used to like to go and visit her class, but she's in Maryland. I'm in Virginia. And so she said, well, have you heard about Matthew Center? It's right
Oh,
there. You could go there. So Crystal told me about it.
oh, wow.
And I went there, and I have been there ever since. And I mean, it's been I retired in 2012, and I probably started going there at like 2013, 2014, and I'm still there involved with them because it's just wonderful.
So now you're on the board of directors as
Now
well.
I'm on the board of directors, right?
That's
So
so
yeah.
you can really have a say so in things that are happening. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. So that, I mean, that part is good. Is being on the board of directors. I used to go like every week and be in the classroom and be with them. And then at one time I was even working there, answering the phones and stuff because the receptionist had left to take another job. So one time they even had me working there. So I did whatever they needed because I really believed in
But
what they were doing.
I always say that God is so strategic because he had you see and start with all the operations of the facility so
Yes.
that now that you're a part of the board of directors, it's like you can really have a footprint
Yeah.
on what goes on and what maybe should not happen. Because everybody has great ideas, but sometimes great
Right.
ideas not don't transfer that well. So
Yeah.
you've seen it, you've been there, and you've actually worked with the students.
Yeah.
So what's the age group of students that are at Matthew Center?
I think the youngest may be like 4 or 5, and it goes up to the age of 22. States will pay for them to be there, up until age 22. And
Mm.
I always, it's always the thing that just breaks my heart sometimes is what do these kids do after 22?
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of times they cannot get a job. They're not, most of them are nonverbal,
Mm.
and so they cannot get a job, and so then it's like now a parent has to figure out what am I going to do with my child. Parents are most of the time still working, so what are they going to do with their child? So
Right.
that really that bothers me.
That's hard. That's
Yeah,
very
it is.
that's hard.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing about Matthew Center.
Okay.
It's an awesome place, and it's good that the work is still going on because I remember
Yes.
it was going on way back, and so but I didn't realize
Yes.
that Crystal had brought you to that. So
Yeah.
that's really nice that she was able to tell you about it like that.
It is really nice because I liked, because she was teaching a class of children that had autism, and I liked going there and I liked seeing them, but it's like I can't be driving up to Maryland,
That's right.
so
It's too
she's
much.
like, well, what about Manchester? It's right there. And I was like, great. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. So, Cheryl, another question I have for you: what significant challenges have you had to overcome? It could be personal, work wise, any
Yeah.
part of your life that you.
I My biggest challenges I think have been work wise, um, because as a black woman in the late 70s, early 80s, in the working for IBM, they don't. I shouldn't say don't treat you the same, but it's kind of not the same, because I
Mhm.
went to a predominantly black school and I'm a black woman. And so I was not given the same opportunities that the Virginia Tech and UVA grads were given, even
Mm.
though I might have gotten there before they did, but they were given, bigger projects to work on and all those kind of things. So it's just kind of staying focused, even though, I can see this isn't right, but just kind of staying focused, doing what I had to do, not making a lot of waves, not becoming the angry black woman that they're always talking about, but just
Right.
staying true to what it was that I had to do. And then even all as I've gone through my career and stuff, I didn't get my promotions as quick as some of the other people did. I had another job where, they were going to lay me off because I wasn't going to go to a particular site that they want to send me to. And
Hmm.
I had young kids, who were in school, when they were sick or needed to be picked up. I couldn't go to Maryland and didn't have to come back here, so
Right.
I was like, okay, do what you got to do. And they did lay me off, but I
Oh,
had a very good, supportive husband who the day, I texted him, said they laid me off. He took off that day. He came, picked me up, helped me carry my stuff out to the car.
oh,
We went to the movies. We got Slurpees. We just, he
oh.
just spent the whole day with me, letting me know everything was okay. He said, no matter whether you work or not, I'm going to be working. I'm going to be supporting the family. So it was really a nice, it's a pleasant memory, even though it was a day I got laid off. It's still a pleasant memory because I think about, the day that he and I spent together,
And the way, and he knew
So
what to do. He knew how to
he
make you feel comfortable that you all of a sudden you're not working, but don't worry, it's going to be okay. So
it's going to be
it was
okay.
truly a good shoulder to lie on, right? I mean,
He
really.
really was. He really was a good shoulder. But I, got back. I stayed home for a while with the girls. It was over summer, so it kind of worked out. I could be
Okay.
home during the summer and with them, and they still say it's the best summer of their lives.
Oh my goodness.
Because and we did every day we had something. An outing, whether it be to the library, whether it be to Michael's to get stuff to make crafts, whatever it was. Every day we had an outing, go to the movies, whatever, and they enjoyed it. So it's one of those Genesis 50-20 things. The devil might have meant it for my harm, but God used
Meant
it
it
for
for you
my
good.
good. He
I'm
turned
telling you,
around and used it for our good.
so that leads me to my next point.
Okay.
Spiritual experiences that have provided strength throughout your journey. Like what spiritual experiences? That was probably one of them. But
That was one of them, but I had another one. My it's not my last position, but I was a contractor, so I did a lot of different ones. And I was on a project where um, they determined, since they didn't have enough work for everybody, they wanted everybody to interview for the work that they did have. And I'm kind of like, so basically, you want me to interview for my job that
mm-hmm.
I have been doing, that I have been doing well, that
Right.
and I have done, So I said, I prayed, I talked to Donald about it, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. If you all don't see the value in what I have been doing, then I don't need this.
Right. Right. Right.
And it was again something that turned out to be really good for me, but it was kind of a I had to pray. I had to trust God that He was going to work things out, that, He had worked things out all this time, all, in my life. So I knew He was going to work stuff out for me again. Again, I had a very supportive husband that, explained the situation and he, totally agreed and everything. And as it turned out, I got laid off from that, and probably 2 days later, I got another job,
Oh wow.
with another job, got reinstated with the company that had laid me off before, got reinstated with them, got all my years of service back,
Oh
got
wow.
all my, so everything, but it was just one of those, no, I'm not doing this. God, I'm going to leave it up to you to work this out for me, pray to him and you're going to work this out for me some kind of way.
And you knew it was going to happen, so you had that faith.
I did.
Faith was strong. I mean, you were a baby, but you were young, still young in the faith. So that, but you knew that God. Like I think, do you think being raised with your mom and seeing her faith walk
Yeah.
was instrumental in that? Because I think that being raised with that, you would have stronger faith. To me, seems like.
I mean, I think so. I saw my mom go through a lot, to have a baby and then your husband's gone. And then, she did not have a college education. So she went and put herself through school as she's
Oh,
working and caring for me, and got her bachelor's and master's degree.
oh,
And again, went to church, made sure I was in church, made sure I was in Girl Scout. I played sports in high school, made sure I did that. And because she was a social worker, there were times when some of her cases, when she would take me to the park, they were coming with us too.
oh,
And
wow.
so she never, like I said, she never let anything stop her. She had the faith to keep going and to keep giving and to
Mm,
get, so I kind of was, that was a great example for me.
it was a
There was
great
a
example.
really, yeah,
And when it comes to like employment, it was not a big deal really because after the first job, it's like, okay, well, God, you took care of that. I know you're going to take care of this one
take
too.
care
So
of this.
he
Right.
just kept doing what he does.
Yes, he
Outstanding.
did.
So what would you consider an impactful moment in your career or your personal life that had a great change in your perspective on life?
Um, that one's a hard, because there have been so many things that have really, kind of changed my perspective on things. I came, when I got laid off that first time, it was kind of, yeah, you can work hard, you can do all these things and stuff, but you got to remember what's important, and that's,
Mm,
my family.
right,
So that
right.
really did, it kind of let me see this job doesn't care anything about you. So you got to take care of you, and you got to take care of your family. When
Mm.
it came down to it, they were gonna, okay, we'll keep you on, but you're gonna have to go out to Maryland. Not thinking about what that's going to do to my life, my kids, my family, and stuff. So that was a very impactful moment, because that, made me see, no, you gotta take care of yourself and your family no matter what. And even with the other one where they wanted me to interview for my job, I kind of felt like I had to show my children that, you work hard, you do what you need to do. And if people don't value you and what you're doing, then you don't just keep sitting there, okay, I got to interview, okay, I got to do this, guy. No, there's value in you. And you can't let people just, treat you any kind of way,
And so,
so.
that's a great point, which makes me start to think about young women who may not have that shoulder to cry on, or that shoulder that's strong like you had. You had Donald. What would you say to young women who, like, they don't see that way out? They don't see how they're going to
Yeah,
do it, because I think that it's hard for them because they've got children and they have to know that, but they've got to have value in themselves. So like,
right. And that, again, like I said, I look at my mom is in, all that she had to do, but she had value. And I'm sure her mother probably instilled that in her, but she had a plan, she had a goal, she had an idea of what she wanted her life to be, and she worked toward that. But I never felt like, and that's the thing, I think young women these days, they get so, I gotta be here, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and they're just pushing themselves and stuff. I never saw that in her. She still made time
mm,
for me. She
wow.
still, like I said, she was going to school, she was working, but she still made time for me. Even if it was because I was a latchkey kid, because she's working, going to school and stuff. But it was, you call as soon as you get home, so I know that you've gotten home. And if she couldn't, she had a meeting or something, she couldn't get to me, there was a certain lady on the telephone, because back then, you had an operator and stuff.
Right,
There was a
right.
certain operator that she had said, you talk to Miss So and so and let her know, that you're home, and she'll let me know or whatever. So, you have to make a plan, and you have to, follow your plan.
Mm,
Everything may not be the way that you thought it was going to be, but you have to make your plan and follow your plan, and you have to know your worth, and don't let anybody try to tell you anything different. You know your worth, and you have to remember that.
mm.
And that was that, like I said, I learned that when I first started working, and because I went to a predominantly black school, and they didn't they didn't see me the way that I saw myself, and the way that they saw some of the others. But you have to know your worth, and you have to know what you are worth, and don't compromise yourself, but also don't let them push you around either. You know.
Mm, outstanding advice.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So you said make a plan,
Yeah.
follow your plan,
Yes.
know your worth,
Yes.
and don't. What was that last one?
Don't compromise,
Don't
and don't
compromise.
let them push you around. Yeah.
Don't.
Don't compromise. You know your worth.
Wow, that's those are some very prophetic words because people, women, men, everyone needs to understand that you've got to know who you are, and that
Yes.
you really do. And I think I always tell my grandkids, you got to have a plan. You got to have a
Yeah.
plan. You
Yeah.
got to have a plan.
You
So
do, and you have to understand that sometimes it doesn't necessarily go
the way
the
you,
way that you want it to go. My plan was never to get laid off when I was working for IBM. IBM was kind of one of those, you get a job from with them, you
for
there
life.
until you retired or whatever.
That's
So it
right.
definitely wasn't my plan, but I also knew that I had to go and lean on God, that it might not have been my plan, but he had another plan for me.
Wow.
And I don't regret it at all. I mean,
Mm.
the laid off thing was great. I had a wonderful day with my husband that day, and a wonderful summer with my girls, and
You
just
know,
spending time with them. I don't regret that at all.
that's a great point because right now, when with so much happening right now with people getting laid off, and especially
Yeah.
women being laid off, I've actually heard so many women that have been laid off. I think you can't think that this is the end of the world. Even
Yes.
even in today's time, you still have to move forward, and that's the
Right.
whole point of my go-to shoe, our journey, because you have a journey. Each one of us has a journey, and your journey, you put your shoes on, and you kept moving, you kept going
Yeah,
forward.
I
So
did.
you did.
I really did. I just kept going, but I had my children, so I wanted to keep forward for them, and I wanted them to see that. And then I also had a very supportive husband. So I get it. There's a lot of times women don't have that, a lot of times they're trying to go it on their own, but I did. I had a very supportive husband, but then I also had young girls that I wanted to have a good example for,
And just
and
like your mother gave to you.
just like she gave me. Yeah, she never, that's a whole lot. I mean, when I was born, she was 19 years old. So my father died, she was 21.
Yeah.
And she had to do it all, like I say, she had her mom and my uncle. One of my uncles was still in high school, so
So
she
she
had
has
to, yeah.
so she was raising a child and she was still going through grief.
Yeah, she's going through grief.
Mm.
She's trying to make, yeah. So, but she was able to do it,
She was able to
but because she had a plan. Her plan was to get that college degree and to go and get a master's. And so, and she
and
did
raise
it,
and raise her daughter.
and raise her daughter.
Right.
And like I said, I never felt like I lacked anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna so this question number 5, inspirational figure. Who would that be?
My mom.
I was gonna say that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to share anything else? And what I'd like you to do is send us a picture of her so that I can have her picture up there too as well when
Okay.
we
Okay.
speak to her. So first, give
Okay.
us your mom's full name again.
Her full name is, I'll give you everything. Ruth Annette Conaway
Conaway. Okay.
Corey Ricks.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So Conaway was her maiden name. And then my father's name was Corey. And then she finally remarried when I
Oh, okay.
was 16, 17 years old. She
Oh,
remarried.
I was going to
And
ask you.
that's Ricks. Yes.
I was wondering if she remarried because it was like
Yeah.
that was a. That, oh wow.
She did. She did. As she said, she wasn't doing it until I got ready to go away to college.
Right.
She didn't, So again, that her plan was, I'm raising this child.
I
Yeah.
think that I don't want to say that raising children is a lost art, but in some respect, I think it is because I think we've got where our children are just looking at the videos and social
Yeah.
media instead of really putting that time into our kids. Because
Right.
I see you say with your kids told you that was the best summer they had.
Yes.
because you took time and you were doing things with them, and that's when we get this extra time. That's what we need to do is spend that time with our children,
Yeah, it
grandchildren.
really is. It really is. But it was, I mean, we did everything, and we had like a schedule of, okay, this day we're going to do this, and this day we're going to do that, and so that they would be excited for it. They could figure out, okay, what is it that we're going to do today? They could look on the little schedule and stuff like that. But it was, it was important to, like, say, have that was part of having a plan, and then sticking with that plan, because they knew, oh, today we're going
Mm,
to do such and such, or, and
exactly.
we went to the library and got books, and, that's where, my youngest daughter, Danielle, she loves biographies because we used to go to the library that summer and she would always get a biography about somebody and read about it. And, so
So they learn to be good readers, which is important as well. So
yes,
Cheryl,
yes.
so what would you say to your younger self at say 18, 20 years old? What would you say to your younger self? Do you think you would share any additional information with her at this point?
Um, I think that I would say, you've had a good life. You may have thought at times, you don't have a dad, why, woe is me, why don't I have a dad or whatever. But I would say to my, you've had a good life. You're going to have a good life. It's going to be fine. Families are all different. Everybody doesn't have, a mom and a dad. Some have two moms, two dads, whatever. But
Right.
family is family. You had family. You had mom, grandmom, uncles. So
You
you
had
you you're gonna have a good life. And then I think, it is important to know God, to trust God, to speak to God, have a relationship with God. That's going to be very important. And then the other thing is to listen. Is to listen. I mean, there's so many times when, something happens and, yeah, I kind of had a feeling. I kind of, or, I kept trying to do it and it wasn't working, but I kept trying to do it. And now I see, oh, that's why it wasn't working. God didn't want me to do that. So listen, that's
I just told a group that not very recently that
yeah,
listen. I think
listen.
it's a lost art because people don't listen.
I know, I know. But we were trying, even today, we were trying to make hotel reservations, and we were trying to go on one hotel's chain website, and it wasn't working out and it kept hanging up and all that. And I told my husband, God might be trying to tell us this is not the hotel for us to stay in.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
But that's
Right?
what it's listen.
That's interesting because a lot of times when things happen the way they do, we start overthinking it and really
Right.
just back off and just let
It
God
just
do God.
back
Just
off.
let God
Right.
do God. So I
Yeah.
think that is so paramount that sometimes we don't let God just be God so that we
Yeah.
can just follow his order. But I
Just
like what
follow
you
his
said.
orders. Yeah.
You said know God, trust God, have a relationship with God, and
Yes.
listen
And
and
listen.
listen. Because
Yeah.
and if we realize it, I mean, God is speaking to us on a continual basis, and sometimes
Yes.
we just miss it, and we just
Right.
dismiss it. And that's
Yes.
something that we need to do is to listen to what God is saying to
Is just to listen. And sometimes we just gotta stop talking. Sometimes
us.
we no, but we sit and we, oh God, this is wrong, that's wrong. Oh, I really need this. Can you believe that he did this, this, and the other? And I found that sometimes if you just be quiet,
Oh,
he'll say, well, what about when you did such and such? Or
right,
how do you think that,
right, right.
but sometimes we don't listen,
We don't listen.
because
We
we're
don't
so
listen.
busy trying to
Work it
say
out.
our part.
Let's
Yeah.
say our part, and then do other things, working it out to our ability. When He's saying, "I need you to sit down over there and let me just do
Right.
this," right? So
Because I read somewhere where God's not going to do anything as long as we're trying to do it. He's
that's
not
right.
going to step in as long as he's waiting for us
He'll
to
let us
get
go ahead
out
and
of the
fall
way. Right.
on our face, and then we have to. Okay, God, now you can do it.
Now you can do
It
it.
didn't work out for
Exactly.
me, so please do this now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Cheryl, I have one last question for you,
Okay.
and this is a question that I ask everybody. Give me just one word to describe you.
Ooh, that's hard. Uh, I'm gonna say faithful.
Faithful. Okay.
Faithful. And I'm thinking more of not just I'm faithful as far as, believing in God and that kind of thing, but I'm also thinking faithful as far as friends and friendship. And,
Mm,
if you're my friend, you know,
you're
I'm going to
loyal.
be, yes, I'm going to be loyal. My kids, I'm going to be loyal. My husband, I'm going to be, I may not like everything that you do, but I'm going to be faithful to you as far as defending you, or, standing up for you, or being there if you need me, or whatever, so
Oh, wow.
I would say faithful. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. And now I have one other little question. This is an easy one. I always like to say this question at the end because
Okay.
uh, if you had the opportunity to go to dinner with anyone in the world, anybody, who would you go to dinner with? Just you and that person.
Just me and that person.
Hmm.
Okay, that's hard too because I'm thinking of Barack and Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
So now I gotta pick one.
You got to pick one.
I
Okay, I'll
gotta
let you.
pick one.
If you-
Whew. I guess I'm gonna have to say Michelle.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to keep it with the sisters and say Michelle. Well, yes,
I think a lot of people would want to go have dinner with Michelle. I think she'd be a great person to have dinner with.
I think so too. I mean, I just think, and conversations would just be just so,
And
yeah.
so, another one word question. One small word, pearl of wisdom, a pearl of wisdom.
Um. Okay, let me think. Uh, I would just say, I'm just gonna say, still, just trust God.
Trust
Just,
God.
just trust God. Yeah,
Trust
because
God.
no matter what, just he's got it. He's got it. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful way for us to end because God does have it. He really does.
Yes.
I'm always amazed at what happens and how He works things out. Uh,
Yes.
so we just got to trust God and let God be who He is, and
That's
just
it.
follow His order. I always say we just got to be disciplined and obedient to what He wants us to do. And sometimes it's not always that easy to be obedient to what He wants us to do, but we
Right.
must do that. But
Yes.
I just love your mom. Your mom is just absolutely wonderful,
She
and
is.
she is such a lady. And when I saw her Sunday when for the baptism, I just, oh my, she is just so special, and she's
Yeah.
always been the same ever since I ever met her so many years ago. But the fact that she got her degree while she was raising you,
Yes.
that's huge.
2 degrees.
2 degrees,
Two
right? You said
degrees.
she got a
Right.
BA and a
And
master's
yes,
in
two
social work. So
degrees.
you guys are all social work people because Crystal does social work basically. I mean, it's not social work, but it's big.
But
It's
it's, yeah.
social work, right? Because
Right.
you're having
Right.
to deal with society and young lives, and
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so special. So Cheryl, I just want to thank you so much for this interview. I just thank you for taking the time to be with me this evening, and we welcome you to my go-to shoe. This will be on probably another week or so, but
Okay.
I'll let you know when it comes on so you can watch it yourself. And
Okay.
but thank you for
All right.
participating,
Well, thank you for
ladies.
having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So
Yeah.
I just want to say to everybody out there, you all know the drill. Like, subscribe, and share. Touch the notification button so you know when Pauline's coming back. But please watch this and watch Cheryl because Cheryl is just an outstanding mom and a wife and a grandma and
Yes.
a daughter.
Yes.
She's doing all the things. She's doing all the things, and it's working out for her. Right? It's working out
Yes,
for
it
you.
is.
So
Very well.
we just
Very
thank
well.
we thank God for you. Really, we
Um,
thank God for you and your family, and continue to be the blessing that you are. So,
I
on that note,
appreciate
Cheryl,
that.
just say you can say goodbye to everybody.
All
So,
right. Bye-bye. Bye.
bye bye. Talk to you later.
Okay.